RBI seems to be tightening its grip over the entire NBFC sector. In fact, as the latest development, RBI has issued draft guidelines regarding distribution of dividends by NBFCs from FY21 onwards. Now, this move particularly is intended to bring greater transparency and uniformity in practice. Now, this development and these guidelines would be applicable on all the systemically important NBFCs. Now, NBFCs with over 500 crore in assets are considered to be systemically important, and as a result all of these companies would have to really comply with these guidelines in order to regulations being pretty much stronger for the entire sector. Now, these regulations particularly are placed mainly on three parameters, first being the capital adequacy, then your net NPA, and lastly the leverage ratio. Now, the guidelines suggest that the company should have a capital adequacy ratio of at least 15% for the last 3 years, including the accounting year for which it proposes to declare dividend. Secondly, they should have a leverage ratio of less than 7 for the last 3 years, including the accounting period. And also the net NPA ratio should be less than 6% in each of the last 3 years, including the accounting year for which it proposes to declare dividend. Now, this is what the guidelines suggest. Now, who shall this be applicable on, and which are the companies that particularly would be impacted with this decision? Starting with M&M Financial, well, they're not compliant with the net NPA norms. However, having said that, Emkay in their recent note have mentioned that, and also the company pretty much has remained really optimistic of the kind of growth outlook that they hold for the upcoming quarters. They mentioned and they are seeing stronger recoveries during second half of FY21, and can allow the company to utilize its this as an exception. Now, secondly, LIC Housing Finance is also struggling as far as their capital adequacy ratio is concerned. They do not possess, or maybe are not possessing, almost 15% capital adequacy, and however, as per an exception provided by the RBI, the company could pay dividends if it raises capital during the current year. So, capital raising would be very crucial for LIC Housing Finance for their dividend payouts. And lastly, REC and PFC have historic dividend payout of almost 45%, and as per the new norms, they are eligible for just 25% of dividend payout. Being high paying dividend and high dividend yielding NBFCs, this one's incrementally negative for them, given one of the strongest arguments in their favor was the fact that they declared really strong and high dividends. So this particular development would not be really very positive for PFC and REC. Well, having said that, RBI has been really proactive when it comes to the entire NBFC space, and they have been watching out and bringing in regulations in order to tighten its grip.